Alagano village is in a very remote area of Borno state, not far away from Chibok, the village where all those schoolgirls were abducted from. And we understand from survivors that the funerals are already taking place this morning. At least 17 people were killed. But one survivor said that pretty much every building in the entire village has been burnt. And he said that they arrived about 11 o'clock at night, were there until 3 in the morning, and then left in vehicles that they had stolen. Now, these kinds of attacks in the rural northeast are going on incessantly across the northeast. There are swathes of the country where it seems the insurgents have the upper hand and they're pretty free to do as much as they want, whereas the military in those rural areas, they're pretty much no-go areas to the military. So people are extremely vulnerable, and there have been a lot of concerns in those villages near Chibok that even though some extra troops have been sent up there, they're still not able to stop these kinds of attacks, which are extremely ruthless when these well-armed Islamist militants turn up.
Right, so when the president or representatives from the government say we are actually managing to push Boko Haram back, what sort of response does that get these days?
Well, nobody believes a word of it these days. I mean, a few months ago you could have argued that the campaign against Boko Haram had managed to contain them to a relatively small area of the northeast. But since then, we've had the 2 bomb attacks in Abuja, we've had another bomb attack in Kano at the weekend, and now the bombings in Jos, which are some of the deadliest for several years, and the ongoing attacks in the northeast. All of this really leaves Nigerians wondering where it's all headed and whether there's any sign that the tide can be turned against this violence. What can the authorities do? Because apart from speaking a little bit faster following the attacks and condemning them quicker, Nigerians have pretty little faith that much else is being done, and it leaves people really worried about where this country is headed.
And Will, obviously, if there are more attacks and bigger attacks, that takes more firepower, more material assistance. Where's it all coming from?
Well, that's the question. People think that maybe some of the weapons have come down from Libya, some of the weapons being used by Islamist militants, but they've also received ransom payments before. There are a lot of weapons easily available in the region. But interestingly, on the bomb attacks, I went to Jos for one of the church bombings about 2 years ago, and that church was flimsily built and it collapsed, and I think less than 10 people were killed. But these attacks, and the ones in Jos, they're clearly using far more sophisticated bomb-making equipment. The craters are deep, and just from the scene of devastation at Jos and also in Abuja, it's clear that the insurgents have really changed their tactics. They're using far more sophisticated bomb-making equipment, and that, again, is another huge concern for people and for the authorities trying to stop these attacks.